The first weekend of December is Miami Art Week. A lot of people call it Art Basel. You probably shouldn't do that. But since I'm here correcting you guys and telling you other things, let's talk about what's going to happen the first weekend in December in South Beach and the places right around it. I think it's worth talking about. Okay, let's hop into this. There's three basic things we're going to answer today. Number one, what is Art Basel? Number two, what other fairs are there? And number three, what do you need to know and what are the things you shouldn't do when you're there? Art Basel Miami Beach and Miami Art Week is a series of one very major art fair and a number of what they call satellite fairs that kind of satellite around Art Basel Miami Beach. 9 of them, sometimes for other people there's as few as 5, and for certain people there's only 1. So let's talk about those in descending order. At the very top tier, you've got Art Basel Miami Beach. It is by far and away the best fair, no matter what, during Miami Art Week. You might find fairs that are more kind of tailored to your tastes or whatever, but as far as like real art goes, Art Basel Miami Beach is like the 800-pound gorilla. Now, the very next level beneath that, and there's kind of there's a level. You have Art Miami, which is a really prestigious art fair. It's been around a lot longer than Art Basel, but they also decided to move its timeline to coincide with Art Basel, and it hasn't hurt the fair at all. It's a great fair. There's Untitled, which is kind of the next step underneath Art Basel Miami Beach, and then Design Miami. Design Miami is a little bit different. It's about design objects, so chairs, pottery, stuff like that. It's a really fascinating show, and it's a small one. It's right across the street from Art Basel Miami Beach, and it's a fabulous one. This is where we get this kind of like funny tier. I like to call it the special mentions tier, which is the fair called Ink and a fair called Pinta. And Pinta is basically focused on Latin American art. Realize that Miami is a great hub for South America. And so Pinta has a fair there, so it brings people who are coming in to see the Art Miami satellite fairs. But Pinta is its own thing. It's Latin American art, almost exclusively Latin American dealers. It's also in Coconut Grove, so it takes a little bit more time to get out to it. I'll have to admit, I've never been to Pinta. I've heard nothing but great things about it, but I think it's well worth seeing. Ink is totally different. Ink is a real specialist fair. It's only about fine art printmaking, and the galleries who show there basically sell almost nothing but fine art printmaking. And certainly during that fair, that's all you'll see. But it's super engaging, it's super friendly. It's about 2 blocks away, so it's a really easy walk from Art Basel Miami Beach, especially if you're using the Collins Avenue exit. And it's actually one of my favorite fairs. It's low key, there's kind of less judginess, there's less rushing to it, but it's a great fair. After that, it starts to get a little bit messier. So you've got Art Miami Context, or Context Art Miami. I always screw that up how they do it. You have Aqua, you have Scope. You have those 3 fairs. And those 3 fairs are pretty much where the serious art stops. And a lot of people will say that really, if you hear people talk, they'll probably even say that those 3 fairs can be questionable at times. I've never seen that really with Context. I have seen that with Aqua, and I have seen that with Scope. Although they all serve kind of different audiences, they all do very different things different ways. What I would say about Scope is it's very much attuned to young collectors and young art. It's got a very pop edge usually to it, and it's a fun fair to go see. It's also right on the beach, so it's a great location. Aqua is in the Aqua Hotel, right between a lot of art fairs, and it's about younger galleries, younger programs. Like I say, some people don't really like to equate Scope and Aqua with the other fairs, but the truth of the matter is they do very different things, but they're well worth looking at. So that's the critical thing to understand about some of the satellite fairs. And lastly, you've got what is you as an artist, what should you do, what should you not do when you're at an art fair, because this is kind of a tricky thing. Miami Beach is what Miami Beach is, and so there's no way of getting around that. There's a large amount of people who kind of can't imagine the world without looking at themselves in the mirror the whole time. So there's a lot of great people watching, but there's a lot of artists also who are going to try to like bring in their work to fairs and try to show it to people or walk around with it like it's on a billboard or something. Don't be one of those people. Don't do that. Understand that the art galleries you probably want to work with they're probably going to be at all the fairs. And very often those galleries are going to be aspirational. But one thing all those galleries have in common is they've paid a lot of money for 4 or 5 days to try to sell as much art as they can in that time period. So they're not looking for new artists. They're looking for new clients. And since it's expensive to be there, their time is just as expensive because that time is limited from like 11 to 6 o'clock. And a lot of people say no one's buying after 6, but 11 to 6, maybe 11 to 7. So you've got to understand they're really focused on one thing. And what they don't want is someone they've never met coming in with some random piece of art or an iPad to shove under their face and say, come take a look at my work. I know you've got time for it. It's going to be okay. It's not okay. Don't do it. But here's what you do. You look around at these galleries. At the Art Basel Miami Beach show, you're not going to introduce yourself to any of those people and have any kind of success. It's a very different thing. So look at those galleries as aspirational. What are they showing? What's special about their programs? Figure that out. When you're at Untitled or Art Miami or even in Context, take a moment and say hi to the gallerist. Don't introduce yourself that you're an artist, you want to show them, anything like that. Just be social. Be social, but take their card. Look at their programs. Don't go into a photography gallery if you're a painter and expect to like inundate them with like images of your work. They're not going to be interested. It's just not going to happen for you. But here's what you do want to do and here's what you don't want to do in this. You get their card, you do it quietly, you don't make a big fuss about it, you note the kind of art they're selling, you maybe write a note on that on their card. And then in a few weeks, maybe after the first of the year, you might send them a letter, you might add them to your mailing list. But you do not spam them. You do not send them stuff every day, every other day, every week. You do it when you send a normal artist newsletter, maybe once a month. Really, even that's too much. Maybe once every 6 to 8 weeks, maybe 3 times a year. Don't spam people. Especially galleries. You can't imagine the amounts of email they get. And most of them are just quickly redirected into trash anyway. Don't spam them. You don't want to be spammed, so realize they don't want to be spammed. Otherwise, that's really it. Just go have fun. Look at the art. If you don't live in like a major arts hub like New York or Los Angeles or London, you're going to have a chance to see a lot of artists that you've never seen before and a lot of art you've never seen before. Soak it in, see what the viewpoints are and see where it's going. Remember last week we talked about, your viewpoint as an artist is really what makes you stand out from other artists. Take a look at how these artists are dealing with that viewpoint. Is it through scale? Is it through material? Is it whatever? How does that apply to your work? Learn from others. Take an opportunity, especially if you're not in a major arts hub. Take that advantage to learn from those other artists. There's so much out there to see and so much out there to kind of get clues for your own work in and ways to take your work in new places. That's going to be it. I'm going to see you in Miami if you're down there, and have a great time. Once again, thanks for watching. I appreciate it far more than you know. If you want to, like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again real soon. Thanks.